All right. What we're going to do now is continue to practice using the pen tool so that we can become more comfortable creating recognizable imagery. And that usually involves us perfecting our ability to not just curve lines, but predict the placement of our anchor points so that when we create these shapes, they're exactly what we're trying to create. So I'm going to go ahead and select these, and then I will delete them because we're going to start from scratch together. First thing I'd like for you to do is come up to your microwave icon. And if you don't already have Essentials Classic selected, go ahead and select Essentials Classic. If you do, but your window workspace doesn't look like mine, go ahead and choose Reset Essentials Classic. Then if you need to, you can expand these layers simply by clicking those little arrows. Next, we're going to come over to our pen tool. And we're going to come down to our fill color and our stroke color. And we're going to go ahead and remove the fill color. We're going to click on our stroke so that it comes to the foreground. And then we'll go ahead and select a color to begin with. I usually prefer to design with stroke and no fill, at least at first, so that I can see the outline of my shape, and then I can go back in and fill it with a color. So we'll begin by clicking one anchor point and letting go. And then remember, as you move your cursor around, not holding and clicking, just moving the cursor, a little line will follow the edge of your pen tool. When you've decided where you'd like to place your next anchor point, you'll go ahead and click and hold. And while you're holding the button down, you'll go ahead and drag the mouse so that you can curve the line. When you're happy with the curve that you've created, then you can release the mouse. At this point, you'll just come back and click one time on the anchor point you just created, which allows you to move forward without it interfering the shape of your curved line. So I'll come down and click my next anchor point. But remember, when I click, I'm going to hold and drag before I release. Then I'll come back and simply click one time on the anchor point I just created. Now we'll go through and continue this pattern. To close a shape, you need to come back to your original anchor point and click hold and drag until your curved line is the shape that you would like. Now at this point, I can come up to my selection tool, and by dragging at the edge, because I don't have a fill color, I can position my leafy green tree where I'd like it. And then I can come over to my color swatches and I can use my little toggle arrows to switch my foreground and switch my fill color and my stroke color so that I now have a green fill and I have no stroke. Move it into place. I'm going to deselect, come back over here, use my toggle arrow so that I have no fill again and just a stroke color. And I'm going to pick brown because we're going to go ahead and use our pen tool to draw the trunk of our tree. So I'm going to start by coming up to the top to create my first anchor point. Click once, release, come down to my next anchor point, click hold and drag. And I'm going to drag inward a little bit before I release. Click the anchor point, come over to my next anchor point position, click hold, drag, release. And then click hold and drag to close my shape. That looks pretty good. So now I'll go ahead and toggle my fill and stroke color, come up to my selection tool, deselect and reselect so that I can position the trunk on my tree. The same thing goes for creating a profile. So click my pen tool, come down to my colors, toggle my fill and stroke, select my stroke so that it comes to the foreground, choose the color that I'm going to work with, and now I will attempt to create a profile of a face. Now be patient with yourself. This is not easy because there's a lot of prediction as to where you would need to place an anchor point, but do your best. Sometimes they end up looking a little funky at first, even when I do them. The nose in particular is sometimes challenging. And remember, as you create your curves, you're coming back in and selecting your anchor points after you create them so that you can continue. Click, hold, drag. Come over here, switch my fill and my stroke, come to my selection tool, deselect, and then come back in and reselect. As you can see, he doesn't look as good as I would hoped, but that's okay. I can always delete and start over. I can always come to my smooth tool and I can try and smooth it out if I need to. His nose especially is a little funky, so is his chin. But there you go. Go ahead and have fun. Good luck. Consider making a forest by making several trees or several profiles just to continue practicing this process.